One Piece 8 devil fruits that would become overpowered if awakened. Number 8. The flower fruit. First off is a devil fruit that most One Piece fans are already very familiar with, the Hana no Mi or flower fruit used by the one and only Nico Robin. At this point in the story, Nico Robin has pretty much been as creative as humanly possible with her devil fruit, somehow extending the ability to grow her limbs anywhere to something as absurd as making entire clones of herself or gigantic versions of her limbs. Based on the explanations of awakening seen in One Piece so far, it seems like it tends to happen when the user of the devil fruit in question becomes entirely in sync with the fruit itself and the wish behind it. And, now that Nico Robin has fully accepted even her devil child persona that the world government gave her, she's likely not far off from awakening if Oda chooses to take her story in that direction. If the Hana no Mi awakened, she might be able to bloom things that aren't even a part of her body anywhere anymore, such as other people or even inorganic objects. Number 7. The human fruit. Let's keep the awakening theories within the Straw Hat crew for just a little longer and move on to the ship's doctor next, Tony Chopper. Tony Chopper is a zone devil fruit user, specifically the human devil fruit. One Piece fans have seen plenty of awakened zone fruit users at this point, but only a few of them have managed to keep control of themselves after awakening, with Rob Lucci being the premier example. Typically, the inherent will of the animal of the zone fruit seems to take over the personality of the user with a lot of zone awakenings, though it's unclear if this is just because the majority of the impelled down zone jailers were sort of forced into awakening or if the personalities in these DFs are that much harder to control. Regardless, there are some fan theories out there that speculate that Chopper, the genius that he is, has actually already awakened his fruit either partially or completely as a result of his rumble balls. As a bit of proof for this theory, Chopper now has full control of his monster point, though this doesn't confirm the theory in any capacity. Number 6. The Revive fruit. Soul King, Brook, and for the final Straw Hat crew devil fruit theory, let's take a look at Soul King, Brook's Revive fruit or the Yomi no Mi. It's hard to speculate what exactly awakening the Yomi no Mi would actually unlock, but with how many weird afterlife-related abilities Brook seems to have now after the time skip, it would probably be something along those lines. Obviously, the most overpowered example of this would be if the awakened Revive fruit could also revive others from death, even if it was just a single revive. But, that'd honestly be a bit of a lame way to handle such a unique awakening, in our opinion. It's a lot more likely that it'll be something like Brook being able to revive the souls of other lifeforms or even objects in some way. Imagine if Brook could revive the spirit of an ancient landmark to get information for Luffy and the crew about the Void Century. Number 5. The Slow fruit. Next up let's take a look at a devil fruit outside of the Straw Hats, and who better to start with than the captain of the Foxy Pirates aka Foxy himself. Foxy is the user of a pretty underrated devil fruit, the Noro no Mi or slow devil fruit. The slow devil fruit by default is pretty absurdly strong in the hands of a capable fighter, especially if they're a powerful hockey user, and if it was awakened this would only be more applicable. With other Paramecia DFs, awakening seems to allow them to affect the environment or give the world around them the properties of their devil fruit in some capacity. So, if Foxy was able to awaken his Noro no Mi, that could lead to him being able to affect a much wider range or even place landmines, in a sense by imbuing his slowing abilities into parts of the terrain that would activate on contact. Number 4. The Hobby fruit. Moving on to maybe one of the most overpowered devil fruits in One Piece history, the Hobby devil fruit or the Hobi no Mi used by Sugar of the Don Quixote Pirates. The Hobby DF is a devil fruit that seems to already have a lot of extra rules and benefits, at least compared to most other Paramecia devil fruits. The fact that this ability affects people's memories, their strengths, their appearance, and much more is already absurdly overpowered, so imagine if that same devil fruit was awakened. It's honestly difficult to even imagine how that would work, but maybe it would allow Sugar to turn people into toys without even touching them. Or, alternatively, maybe it would allow her to turn anything into a toy, deleting the memories of that object or thing for as long as it's a toy. Imagine she did this to a poneglyph, for example. Number 3. Any Logia class devil fruit. Such as the Smoke fruit, Glint fruit, or Dark fruit. Now for the rest of this list, we've looked at specific devil fruit examples, but this next entry is about the entire general Logia class of devil fruits. With the way the awakening works, it's hard to even speculate how an awakened Logia devil fruit would function. However, if it ever does happen, it is assuredly going to propel the devil fruit user from an overpowered level to an almost godlike level of power. Since Logia users can already entirely affect their environment with their DF abilities, maybe a Logia awakening would allow them to imbue their DF abilities into weapons or even other people. Number 2. The Munch fruit. Here's a devil fruit that everyone knows and loves, but isn't talked about all too often, the Baku no Mi or Munch fruit. This is the devil fruit used by one Wapol, previous ruler of the Drum Kingdom and an all-around buffoon who is currently in hiding with one Vivi of the Alabasta Kingdom. With this devil fruit, Wapol is able to eat anything he puts in his mouth and take on properties of what he eats, making him One Piece's very own knockoff Kirby. If Wapol was able to awaken his DF which, given how well his personality meshes with his ability, isn't too outlandish to imagine, would he not then be able to munch on concepts or fuse things in his environment with each other without having to eat them first? Imagine a Wapol who was able to munch on air and take on the properties of the wind. Number 1. The Chop Chop Fruit. Topping this ranking with maybe the most fun devil fruit speculation and the most potentially overpowered, the Chop Chop Fruit. This is a devil fruit in the hands of a fan-favorite character, Buggy the Clown. Buggy is one of the all-time greatest One Piece characters and continues to grow in prestige the longer the story goes on, regardless of whether Buggy himself wants fame or not. And, funnily enough, despite how awful of a fighter Buggy seems to be overall, his devil fruit is actually incredibly strong by default. In fact, because of his devil fruit, one of the strongest people on the planet, Dracula Mahawk, basically can't do anything to Buggy with his weapon of choice. To elaborate, the Bara Bara no Mi allows Buggy to separate his body into as many individual sections as he likes, giving Buggy full control of these pieces of himself as if he were controlling them with telepathy. Now try and imagine that ability in an awakened state. Wouldn't this allow Buggy to separate the environment around him into pieces and control those at will? In all honesty, it would make anything Buggy was controlling uncuttable, it would give him abilities similar to Shiki the Golden Lion's Float Float Fruit, and it would allow him to potentially lift entire islands into the sky at will. As far as overpowered devil fruit abilities go, this would absolutely be one of the most absurd to see in action.